Hello there, it's Richmond here and I welcome you to the very first episode of the Xplore Bot series. In this particular episode, we are going to look at three main things. The very first one is what is the Xplore Bot? We're going to talk about the Xplore Bot itself. The next thing that we will look at is the various components we have in the Xplore Bot and their various functions as well. Then finally, we will build some basic things with the Xplore kit, which includes the two-wheel drive and also the four-wheel drive. And so without wasting much time, let's just get into it. Alright, so the Xplore Bot is basically an educational kit that allows students ranging from age 8 and above to learn the various robotics principles, which include robotics, coding, 3D modeling, AI, electronics, and also machine learning. So this robotics kit actually allows the student to get all these principles from the basics. Alright, the next thing we are going to look at is to unbox this kit and see the components that we have in there and also their functions. So I'm going to unbox it now. So you open it, then you pull this strap here. It comes off smoothly. Yes. Now the Xplore Bot comes with 3D printed parts and also some electronics parts as well. And the electronics parts are basically grouped into the sensors, which are the input devices, also the microcontroller, then finally the output devices, which are the actuators. Alright, so you could see here at this compartment, we have all our 3D printed parts. You also have some on the other components that you can see in here. So we are going to first look at the electronics components inside the Xplore Bot. We're going to look at their functions, then we will look at whether they fall under a sensor, a controller, or an output device. So yes, the very first one I'm going to pick is what we call the brain, right? So as you can see here, it has a 3D printed part that forms the case of it. Now the brain comprises of the Xplore shield and the main microcontroller, which is on top of the Xplore shield. What the brain of the Xplore Bot does is it receives data from sensors, it processes that data and also sends signals to the actuators or output devices, right? It's also the main brain onto which you upload your code, right? And so this is what runs the program that you write for your Xplore Bot. All right. The next thing we are going to look at is the geared motors, right? Now the Xplore Bot comes with 4 geared motors, and these geared motors are basically the components that converts the electrical energy into mechanical energy, right? So it allows the robot to move, it allows the robot to also pick stuff and also create some moving mechanisms, right? So that's the geared motors. Next off, we have this particular component, which is the infrared sensor or line tracking sensor, right? So this infrared sensor basically senses lighter surfaces and also darker surfaces, and a typical application of it is when it's being used for line following, right? Because it's able to sense darker and also lighter surfaces, it's able to identify or help the robot identify a specific path between a lighter and a darker surface. So you have more of the infrared sensor. So the Xplore Bot actually comes with about 2 of the infrared sensors. Alright, so the next component is the servo motor. Now the servo motor is also a component that converts electrical energy into mechanical energy, right? But the difference between it and the geared motors is that it's able to move in a specific angle, right? So you are able to program it using PWM signals to allow it to move into a specific angle. So it comes with the motor itself and also the connectors that allows you to connect it to the moving parts, right? All right, the next component is the Bluetooth module. Now the Bluetooth module also allows you to send data to the microcontroller or build projects using Bluetooth. where you are able to send data from a device to the microcontroller to receive via the Bluetooth. So basically falls under the input devices as well. The next component we have here is an ultrasonic sensor, and as you can see, it looks like an eye. This is a proximity sensor that allows the robot to view obstacles, right? The distance between it and obstacles, and based on that, the robot can take a specific decision, right? So basically, it has the transmitter and the receiver, which uses sound waves to calculate for the distance between it and the nearest obstacle, right? All right, moving forward, we have this remote control, infrared remote control. Now, if you take a critical look at the Xplore brain, it comes with an infrared receiver which receives signals from this infrared remote, right? So basically, if you want to send data which is in the form of infrared rays, you can use this particular remote to transmit data or communicate with the Xplore robot, right? All right, we also have this OLED screen. The Xplore Bot comes with this OLED screen. Let me take it off for you to see how it looks like. So this is how the OLED screen looks like, right? It has 4 pins here, and it has a very nice display over here. Now this OLED screen is an output device. It's an output device that allows the microcontroller to send out visual data in a form of text or in a form of shapes or images, right? So this falls directly under the output devices. All right, so finally we also have the uploading cable or the downloading cable. Now this is the cable that allows you to connect to your robot and then send your program from the Xplore ID to the robot. Very soon you are going to know what the Xplore ID is as well. So basically it's for uploading cable. Most of the times too, you could use it to charge your robot as well. Yes, we have more 3D printed parts. These are the wheels. You can also have the boxes also, which are 3D printed that you could use in your projects. We have more wheels and more balls as well. So basically, these are the main components that the basic Xplore Bot comes with, and also these are their main functions as well. Next off, you are going to build a basic 2-wheel drive with these particular 3D printed parts and the electronics components as well. So without wasting much time, let's get into that as well. All right, so first off, I'm going to start with the wheels of the robot, right? So I'm going to assemble the wheels, which I'm going to use 3 main components, which are the motor holders, the geared motor, and also a wheel, right? So I'm going to first pick one motor. I will just explain it once, and then for the other processes, I will just repeat them, right? So I have first my geared motor, right? And then my motor holder here. Next off, I'll pick one wheel. So this is the wheel as well. So now that you have these 3 components, you're first going to pick your geared motor, which has some parts. I want you to take note of these parts, okay? We have the shafts. The shafts are 2 here, one on the right side, then one on the left hand side, okay? You also have your power cable for the motor, which comes in the positive and negative terminal. So as you can see, this is the power cable. Now when you pick the geared motor, you pick your wheel as well, and then make sure that you connect the wheel to the shaft on the same line as the power cable. So you can see the power cable is here. This side has no power cable, right? So I don't connect my geared motor to this shaft, rather to the shaft which is aligned with the power cable. So I turn it this way, and as you can see, the power cable is here and also have a shaft here. So I just connect it this way to the shaft, right? So once I have this in, I'm almost done. I'm 70% through with fixing the first wheel. So I just pick my motor holder this way. and then also look at the very flat side. Okay, you can see this side is very flat, so this side also has a cube structure over here. This is not where I'm going to connect my wheel. I'm rather going to turn it to the part where I have the flat side, then I'll connect it gently inside. Right, so now I have my very first wheel completed. I'm going to put this here and repeat the same process for the other 3 wheels, right? Alright, so as you can see, I have my 4 wheels or 4 motors fixed correctly. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to fix it onto the brain of the Xplore Bot. But then note that we are building a 2-wheel drive. Now what 2-wheel drive or 2 WD means, we are building a robot that comes with only 2 wheels, right? And so we are going to make use of only 2 of these wheels, which is the left wheel and then the right wheel. When we get to the 4-wheel drive, we are going to make use of the other extra 2 that we have. So let's take note of that. Now with the next process, I'm going to pick 1 left wheel and then 1 right wheel, then connect it to the brain of the Xplore Bot. So I'm first going to pick my brain, which is this. So I have my brain here. Now this is the front part of the brain and this is the back part of the brain. So let's take note of that. So I have my brain over here and then I have 2 wheels, right? Now these 2 wheels, they are both left wheels, as you can see, right? They are both left wheels. So I'm going to put them aside, and then we also have these 2 wheels which are also both right wheels. I'm going to put them aside. Now since I'm building just 2-wheel drive, I'll pick one of the left wheel, okay, and then I'll pair it with 1 right wheel. So I have a 1 pair, right, that I can use for my 2-wheel drive. And this is how we connect it. So I'm going to connect the very first one. You pick your Xplore Bot brain, which is this one here, and then you look at the left hand side, since this is the left view. So I'm going to connect it to this part of the Xplore Bot. So let's look at it carefully this way. So it goes in this way, right? Now take note of where the cable is. You could see the cable is away from the brain, right? It's on the other side of the wheel. It's very, very important that you take note of that. So let's connect this like this. Yeah, and it snaps in very tight, as you can see over here, right? Now we are going to repeat the same thing for the right hand side as well. So I'm going to pick this. Now let me position it this way so that you see it connected this way as well. Great. So at this point we have our motors also connected nicely. The next thing I'm going to do is to connect the motor cables, right? Now let me position it this way. If you look at the top of the Xplore Bot's brain, you can see we have some white connectors here. These are what we refer to as the motor connectors, right? So we have the M1, we have the M2, then we have M3 and M4, right? So let's take note of it. facing this way, right? So this is the front of the robot, and to my left I have my M1, right? To my very first right I have my M2, then I come to my left again, I have my M3, then this part is my M4. So the left motor is going to go to M1, so I'm going to connect the left motor to M1 like this, right? Then my right motor is going to go to M2, so also like this, right? So as you can see, my two motor cables are in their right or respective ports correctly. So let's take note of that as well. Okay, so now that we are done with this, we are about 80% done with our two-wheel drive. The final thing that we are going to do is the caster wheel, which we are supposed to connect. So I'm going to put this one down, and we are also going to assemble the caster wheel separately. So I'm going to pick some parts that you're going to use for assembling of the caster wheel. First off, we have this holder, so the caster wheel holder over here. So let's take note of this one. So this is the caster wheel holder. I'm going to put this one down. Then this is basically the cover of the caster wheel. So as you can see, it has some opening here. So as you can see, it has some opening here. So that is the opening for the caster wheel. I'm going to put that also here. Then with the caster wheel itself, it comes with 3 parts to build it. So it comes with the 2 sides of the caster wheel, right? So the 2 sides of the caster wheel comes together like this. However, you need a connector to connect both of them. So I connect it this way, right? Then I cover it with this one. So at the end of the day, we have a round caster wheel like this, right? So I'm going to put that one down as well. Then the final thing I'm going to pick is the connectors that I'm going to use to connect the caster board to the main robot, right? So I'm going to pick 2 connectors from this. So these are the connectors, right? So I drop that one here as well. So now I can assemble everything. The first thing I'll do is to pick the holder again. Then I'll drop the caster board inside like that. Then cover it with the cover this way, right? So now we have something like this. Now the last thing is to connect it to your robot. Now to do that, you need to pick your robot and also make sure the very flat side, right, not the curved side of the caster wheel, the very flat side attached to the robot this way, okay? Then you can connect your pins. So let me connect my pins. So I have the first one connected, then I can connect the next one as well, like so. So at the end of the day, my caster wheel is also connected successfully, and as you can see, the robot is fully complete, right? So this is basically a 2-wheel drive robot. Now someone may ask, how about the 4-wheel drive? And that's the next thing we are going to learn how to do. We are going to learn how to build a 4-wheel drive. Alright, so with a 4-wheel drive, we are not going to need the caster wheel. And so the first thing I will do is to remove the caster wheel. Alright, so I remove it and then I drop it here. So now that you have the caster wheel removed, you are going to connect the other 2 wheels, right? So I pick my other 2 pair of wheels, right? And these wheels will actually go here, right? So let me connect it. Now, one thing I want you to take note of when connecting the wheel is this particular structure over here, right? So if you are connecting your wheel, always make sure that these structures are facing up, okay? They are facing up and not facing down. So whenever you are connecting them, you need to make sure that, just as you can see here, the wheels here, it has those structures up. If you turn it upside down, you have the build-up structure wrong. So make sure you always have it at the top, right, or pointing the top. So I'm going to connect this one here. All right, make sure it enters very stiff and also nicely. Then I pick the next one, connect that also here. Make sure you manage your wires very well so that they don't entangle each other. All right, so now that you have these two wheels also attached, you need to connect their wires. Okay, now these ones will go to 3 and 4 respectively. So I connect this one here, then the next one also goes in here. Yes, so finally we have the 4-wheel drive also assembled successfully. All right, so great job for making it up to this far of today's video, and I'm sure you learned something. We started by talking about what the Xplore Bot is, and then also looked at the various components inside, the 3D printed parts, and also the electronics components. We looked at their functions as well. Finally, we moved to building an Xplore Bot, which is the 2-wheel drive, and also finally we have our 4-wheel drive here. So in the next episode, we are going to look at how to download and install the Xplore ID, which is the application used to program the Xplore Bot. We are going to also look at how to actually program the Xplore Bot in subsequent videos. And I know you wouldn't want to miss that. So see you in the next one. Bye bye.